Hello friends and g'day from New Zealand. I am so pleased to announce the arrival of our next rising star. Our pony Misty nearly slipped this little surprise past us. She wasn't due till December 7th, based on the date she was bred to the stallion El Paso. But having had other surprises in the past, I had started checking her ahead of time and locking her in the stall at night. So on Saturday afternoon, November 30th, I checked her over and she wasn't showing any signs of impending birth. No milk dripping, no belly kicking, no lying down getting up, no sweating. However, she did seem to be carrying her tail slightly elevated. The grandkids were there and I said, no, she's not going to have it tonight. So I drove them back to town. By the time I got back to the farm, my phone was nearly flat, and my hubby had made a lovely steak and mushroom dinner, my favorite. So I plugged in my phone to charge it, and I sat down to eat. After dinner, I took a little nana nap to digest and recover from having the grandkids. They are battery drainers. At 7:45, I pried an eyelid open very reluctantly, because that little voice in my head said, "You haven't put Misty in the stall yet." "Oh, she's not even close," I argued. But the voice insisted. So I got up, put my charged up phone in my pocket, and headed out to the paddock. I was still dozy when I spotted Misty lying down in the paddock on a bit of the hillside. Now that was kind of odd. I walked closer, and suddenly, to my astonishment, I saw a curious little white face with a pink nose peering out at me from her hindquarters. Now that foal was still halfway inside Misty, but the sack was off its face and it was alert and looking all around. Whew. I really was not expecting to be able to film the birth, as most mares choose to foal in the middle of the night. But I pulled out my phone and pushed record, thankful that I had a habit of putting it in my pocket always. Now, in my other hand, I was holding Misty's bucket of food, which I was planning to give her in the stall. Now, last year's foal, Summer, who will be a year old in January, she really wanted that bucket of feed, so I was fending her off while I was filming the birth. Summer was also totally fascinated by what was happening, and she kept getting as close as she could to Misty and the half-born foal. I really needed reinforcements to deal with moving Summer away and helping the new foal. So I quickly sent a picture to my husband and hoped he'd look at his phone. Thank God he did, and he came straight out to the paddock. He tried chasing Summer off, but she wouldn't go. So eventually he managed to lure her into a pen with a bucket. He was completely out and he trying to stand up, but he was not having any success because gravity was working against him. He just kept rolling down the hill. My husband decided to help him out, and he held him steady until the foal found its balance. "It's a boy," he told me. I was already pretty sure it was because of its size and as well as the shape of its head. It just looked like a boy to me, and it was. And man, what a firecracker of a boy. He is a Pintalusa. Up front he has pinto markings, and on his rump he has an Appaloosa blanket. He's like a half and half. Now our next step was getting a halter on Misty and leading her and the foal to a safe place for their first night. We decided to put them in the round pen, as there's less germs than in the stall. My husband led Misty while I used my arms to cradle around the colt and guide him after her. I stayed there in the round pen with them until I watched the foal figure out where to drink. Then I left them with a bucket of water for Misty. Now in the morning, my husband was the first one outside, and he came running back in. "The foal is not in the round pen. I can't find it anywhere," he said. Immediately I thought of my worst fear. He must have gotten under the bottom rail of the round pen and wandered around until he fell in the pond and drowned. I dropped everything and ran out to confirm that my husband had not just missed him lying down behind some of the tall weeds in the round pen. But no, my husband was right. Misty was standing in the pen all alone. Oh, there, God had given us the most beautiful, unusual, handsome colt, and already we'd lost it. "Help!" I yelled out to God in my mind, and he answered me almost before I called out. I looked at the adjacent paddock, and there was Summer, the 1-year-old, heading down the hill towards me with a cute little foal following closely behind her. "That is not your baby, Summer," I said. "Were you just babysitting it?" I quickly got it back in with its mother, and he immediately wanted to nurse. Summer was glued to the fence, wanting her stolen baby back, but Misty was having none of it, and she chased her off with flattened ears. Misty was not going to let her little baby get stolen again. There was a very small gap that the foal must have gotten under to end up in the paddock with Summer. Now, he had a tiny cut on his nose, but otherwise he was fine. We have named him Texas Favor as a nod to his father, El Paso. Everything is big in Texas, they say, so this was a big favor. We did El Paso a favor by grazing him for free last summer, and he did us a lovely favor in return. But most of all, it is wonderful to be living in God's favor, and I feel very blessed to have this gorgeous colt who was hand-painted by the angels just for us. Thanks for watching, everybody, and until we see you again, happy trails.